Welcome to the Consulting Leaders Podcast, where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Guillaume Jouvencel, ex-PwC and co-founder of GHA Marketing. Join me as I interview the best consultants in their niche. Let's get on with the show. Welcome to Consulting Leaders. Let's jump straight into it.
Thank you so much, Guillaume. I appreciate the invite.
My pleasure. So, Kirby, tell me, how does one go from media executive to CEO coach? What drew you into consulting and leadership coaching?
Yeah, very interesting. I had an amazing run in an industry that ultimately became subject to terrific disintermediation. In other words, you could get radio and TV on your phone, on your tablet, etc. And what happened was, while we were doing an outstanding jobs, I orchestrated turnarounds for CBS, for Clear Channel, for Univision, and not little improvements, but really worst to first in each of those cases. I was making a lot of money. And when disintermediation interfered, they thought, well, where can we cut expenses? Not how can we grow revenue? How can we be more creative? How can we cut expenses? So I sort of stuck out like a sore thumb. And after orchestrating these great turnarounds and having the first and fourth highest performing markets in all of, for example, Univision, I lost my job, first and fourth. And what I realized is that I didn't love the industry. I loved the people. And nothing was more fulfilling to me than, and what I gravitated towards was mentoring high performers, helping teams to exceed even their own expectations, supporting individuals and a team through dramatic changes that were going on in the media industry. So what was clear was it wasn't the industry, it was the people. And I was more concerned about lifting others and seeing them to their highest purpose, and having a front row seat to watch that happen. That was an extraordinary experience for me. So as I left media, I decided I wanted to become a coach and do more of that. And what I learned was that it isn't because some of these CEOs are incapable. In fact, they're incredibly intelligent, but they are isolated and they are surrounded by people who are trying to get in their favor, who aren't necessarily going to give them honesty. These are people that are really looking for how they can improve themselves by being favorable to a CEO. So what I learned is that they lack the people that will challenge them and support them and really guide them to make really good decisions that are without subjectivity and without bias that exists. So coaching, executive consulting became a natural for me. And I've got to tell you, throughout my life, my greatest joy has always been to lift others. And to do that every day is one of the greatest joys of my life.
That is a very beautiful message. So tell me more about the problem that you're solving for the CEOs and what type of results you get them to get with your coaching.
Well, it varies. My work is sometimes episodic and project oriented. Sometimes it is even as intense as fractional embedded. in the sales and marketing area. Sometimes I am on a retained basis. So the results and outcomes are all dictated by the objectives and the friction that exists within the business. The biggest thing that I work on, though, Guillaume, is the the identity of the CEO, who has this notion that absolutely nobody can do what they do as well as they do it. And so they are hell bent on making sure, even as they grow and scale, that they're doing every job. And needless to say, that doesn't work. They seem to want to have their fingerprint on every decision. And so a great amount of the work that I do is really about the intrinsic, habitual, default reactions that a CEO has, as opposed to some of the extrinsic, which are much easier, which is marketing, which is competition, which is pricing, and the usual. I've got to help them to elevate their team, and more than anything, to trust their team by letting go of this sort of legacy, these legacy responsibilities they have, and redefining them from CEO and chief doer to CEO, the chief architect of the trajectory of this business. And when we get them there trusting and delegating, revenue begins to scale and culture begins to strengthen, and the organization really becomes more resilient, more profitable, and really more valuable.
So I'm a bit curious. When we research you, Kirby, we see that you help CEOs of companies between $1 million a year and $100 million a year. First off, can you tell me a bit more about who are your ideal clients
Sure.
and who makes the decision of hiring you? The reason I'm saying this is, for a $1 million company, I easily see how the CEO would probably directly say, yeah, I need help. I'm going to recruit Kirby. He's the person that you help, the decision maker, and the financial decision maker as well.
Yeah.
For a $100 million company, things might be a bit different, right? The CEO is at the head of the company, but he's not the only one making decisions anymore. So it might be someone else putting you in. So how do you navigate all these? Who's your ideal client, and who makes the decision of saying, Kirby Solution, I need to Kaden Solutions, sorry, I need to hire those guys?
Yeah, very good question. Suffice it to say that when we are dealing with startups or smaller companies, I do a lot of work with family-owned companies, multi-generational. That can be a picnic. Very, very complex. Very little to do with business, and a great deal to do with getting along and listening. But when I am working with, for example, $100 million company that has multiple divisions, I am working, the scope of my work very much narrows to sales oriented thing. And this is everything from the customer experience, the customer journey, where I'm actually interviewing their customers, the ones that love them, the ones that do business with them, and the ones that refuse to do business with them. Because what I'm looking for is the friction in their experience. And once we have that valuable feedback with live interviews, I glean unbelievable insights that are very, very valuable with respect to the next, how we re-engineer their business. An example of that is a company that makes truck beds. After doing about 42, 44 interviews or so, I don't remember, what I gleaned is that freight was a big deal for them. And so they are in a part of the country where everything is very far. So freight became a bigger and bigger issue. So it was suppressing their growth. And as a consequence, we went back to the P&L. We looked at what their total freight charges were. We increased them because we wanted to do business more spread out and further away from where they're domiciled. We added that to pricing. We included freight, and in 6 months, their revenue was up 14%. So the scale and even the geography of the client is less relevant than certain characteristics, which I find really more important. Number one is they have to have a growth mindset. A growth mindset is absolutely essential. They have to have the position, well, where do I grow from here? And the assumptions that I have, are they still valid? And how can I explore new ways of thinking? And how has the market changed? So this growth orientation, this growth mindset, if you will, is absolutely critical. The second is they have to be okay to be accountable. In other words, I am, when we meet, it is not a social gathering. Even if we're in person, it is a time for us to examine, explore, and really plot the course for the next and define strategies, tactics, etc., that are going to get us to that new plateau. So after we meet, I send an email and I say, these are the things we agreed upon. When we meet again, I go through those. How are you doing at all this? I expect my clients to do 5 to 10 hours of work on their business. And if they haven't, I need to talk about that and see what sort of friction exists there. And then the third thing is humility before fragility. So what do I mean by that is I sometimes say things to people that nobody else has the courage to say to them. And I am as unvarnished as they come when I give them the perspective of what I see from the outside, unbiased by the people with whom they have a relationship, unbiased by the conventions they've attended and their understanding of their competitor set. So I give them what I see. And the value of that is that nobody else perhaps will do that. And it is indeed the lens through which their competitors, their customers, and really even their employees see them. So they have to be okay with that and to have the courage to say, I see what you're saying. And maybe they'll say, Kirby, you're wrong. But maybe they'll say, well, that's a growth opportunity for us. So when those qualities exist, transformation can happen. So it's less about scale or geography. It's more about those three qualities.
Like that. Can you, that does all make a lot of sense. Who's the decision maker for those larger companies? Is it going to be the CEO themselves?
No, usually my work is in the sales area. So it's
Okay.
CRO. Yeah, thank you. I neglected to mention that. It's
That's
going
all
to
right.
be somebody in either the marketing or the sales space, because that's where I've done my legion of work, really.
Like that. Okay. So CRO, VP of sales, that does make a lot of sense. How do you get the attention from those people, Kirby? How do you market, brand yourself? I think like what you mentioned here around the messaging and what you're exactly going to help those people do is crystal clear. Now, how do you get attraction from the right people so they can bring you in as a coach and be like, no, we are working with Kirby or with nobody? Like,
Yeah.
how do you market your company?
Yeah, I'm not great at that. The cobbler's kids have the worst set of shoes, I think. So it is very difficult I can sell anything, Guillaume. I can sell anything except me. And so I don't pitch. What I rather do is be present. And being present is important at networking functions. I like to be the coach, strangely enough. There are less strategic introductions that are done, private CEO groups, referrals from my clients. Sometimes I do that when we have hit a number they never expected. I use this line, "Hey, I'm so glad that you are happy with the experience. Maybe you're thinking of one or two other people that could benefit from working with me." And that's as far, and even that is difficult. And that as far as I will go. But it is true that if some of these internal conversations are going on and they hear it discussed by me in a public forum, they all of a sudden see that I understand and I hear them and I am in the fight with others like them. And all of the sudden, I become part of their decision set, a person at least they'd like to talk to.
So I like that. Tell me more. What channel? So I'm not talking about the sales specifically, right? Not the pitch, but more like marketing, Carbon Solution, making sure that people hear your name. So there's gonna be referrals, right?
Right. Yeah.
Obviously.
Right.
But like, have you tried some content? Have you done cold calling? Like, what specific marketing channels have you tried, explored, played with? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. I really appreciate you embarrassing me. That's great. Um,
That's not the point. That's not the point.
when I started out, I used to do lunch and learns, and I would buy people lunch and get 10 to 20 people in a room. And I would share with them my philosophy. As I started to get clients, I got referrals. In today's socially adept world, it is incredibly important that you are posting. I have been posting both video as well as text. I'm getting a lot of bad feedback on my visuals because I use ChatGPT, and it is clear to everybody that I'm doing that as opposed to buying stock video. So I have to change that behavior. But it's being in conversations, it's being in public groups, it is posting mostly on LinkedIn and on my website. It is video as well as text, and just doing enough of that. And at this point, I've been doing this now for 15 years. It's enough. But I will say this: that strange things happen, and to all of us that are in this space, our clients achieve results they've never achieved before. And then they pat us on the back and say, "Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough." And we're out of that revenue stream. So we have to continue to be very visible. We need to network. Networking is the most valuable, I believe. I am in a group called Provisors. These are mostly attorneys, to be truthful, but there are professionals in the financial world, in the real estate world, the legal world, of course, the accounting world, and it has been the banking world. It's been very, very a great space to be heard. So I recommend that to everybody.
So that is not embarrassing at all, in my opinion. I think this is so. The reason I'm asking you those questions, Kirby, is there will be some people listening to us who need that advice, right? So lunch and learn, takeaway. I like
Yep.
that. That works. We are in the high ticket coaching and consulting business. So at the end of the day, you need trust, you need authority, you need relationships. And lunch and learn is a very good way to establish just three. So I like it a lot. To because I think you're selling yourself a bit short. You're going on podcast. This one, I see that you've been on another podcast, Let's Talk Biz Radio,
Mhm.
which gets some good impact. You're very good at collecting clients' testimonials, right? As we can see on your website,
Thank you.
further establishing that proof, further establishing that that authority. And it's like, Guys, don't take my word for it. Listen to our clients. And I like it because I do the same.
Right.
So all this to say, those are the things that you're using, which is not a push, it's more a pull. Like, hey guys, look, here is all the knowledge. Here is all the people talking about us positively. Um, Look at it. And if you'd like to get the same results, reach out to me, which means you don't have to pitch, you let people come to you. And I like this approach a lot, which is why I wanted to dig a little bit further.
Yeah.
Um,
It's hard to pitch what we do. It's hard to say to somebody, I think, you really need me.
You're right, because it's like you have such a shortcoming right now, you cannot even see it. Hire
Right.
me. So
Right.
I will show you and I will help you. Nobody wants to hear that.
Right. They need to see that in themselves. I can't sell them on that, if that makes any sense. They have to realize there's something better for them, and they need to be in search. And if they're not in search for better, there's nothing I'm going to say to encourage them otherwise.
So I think that that says a lot about how you're selling as well, right? So I'm going to quickly skip over this question. One of the things I want to ask you about, Kirby, is retention. So once you start working with a CEO, right? So what's your approach to one, ensure consistent results, right? But two, get a lasting engagement, lasting transformation, making sure that those people come back to you and create that recurring or reoccurring business. Because so I have a few clients. One of them specifically told me this when we were discussing potentially working together. He said he's in the fitness space, and he was like, "I want to be the last coach anybody needs." He's like, "I want people to come to me, and I give them the tool, the strategy, the ecosystem, so that they can go and grow on their own." And I was like, "This is a terrible business model."
Right.
I was like, yes, but no, because when you think about it, you create such goodwill that those people then talk about you. Like, hey, look, I've seen, so his name is Justin. I've worked with Justin, absolutely amazing guy. You should do it too. So how do you go about this? How do you ensure recurring? And by the way, this is not like the only way to do business, in my opinion. It's a good strategy, but it's not the only viable and good one.
Right.
So for you, Kirby, how do you, once you engage with a client, how do you make sure that this becomes a long-lasting relationship in a sense of you providing that continuous value, but also being able to continue charging these clients to make it a, recurring client?
Yeah. Good question. I, it all starts with strategic alliance. I really need to have clarity around sort of what their expectation is and how they see an ROI. One of the things that I do, I guess it's marketing, is guarantee my results in 17 weeks. If your bottom line doesn't increase by at least my fees, I will coach you for free. And the truth is, it's easy because I've never had to do that. But it a little bit of risk reversal, let's call it, that is helpful. But it all starts with strategic clarity. Where do you feel you should be? Where is your issue? Where would you like to be? There have been just a gaggle of clients that I have started with who I needed to resuscitate. And once I resuscitate them, they're like, whoo, thank you so much. Pat me on the back. See you later. And then there's a pause, and about 6 months to a year later, hey, Curb, you got some time for me still? So that happens a little bit, but it's really about where uh, they want to go. And implicit in that is structurally what has to change in order for you to achieve that. And then consent on their part to travel that path. And it isn't a tactic, it is a strategic alignment with people, processes, technology, the marketplace, pricing, etc., that needs to take place in order for them to elevate themselves to the next level. So that's number one. The second one is the evolution of their leadership. Almost always, we start deeply entrenched in this thought process of how things not only should go, but must go. And so I've got to relieve them of those biases as quickly as I possibly can. If I can't do that, then I quit them. Because this is the key, is that if they can't embrace change, they're certainly not going to mobilize a change inside of their organization. So this change of heart, this intrinsic thing, this evolution of their leadership has to happen. And as I said before, accountability. Accountability is important, not only because they have a to-do list, both short term in between our meetings and sort of a longer term initiative, if you will, that is going to take weeks, months, quarters for them to achieve. And so keeping track of that is not only accomplishment, it's a reminder that they're moving forward. When there isn't forward progress, I believe, they stagnate, and therefore they sour on the concept of having somebody external to their organization to support them. So the accountability piece is a really, really big one for me. And this is where it can get tough. Um, this is where I have to say, why didn't this happen? My understanding is you wanted to accomplish this. Did something change? And when you check down back on what their original strategic goal is, um, there is an emotive metamorphosis that I believe takes place. And it is that letting go with their white knuckled grip of those biases and processes that allows them to spread their wings and really assume a new journey that they had never imagined for themselves. So transformations stick and clients stick when we are rewiring the way that a CEO operates. So that may not work for everybody, but at least for me, I have found that to be really, really helpful. So.
I got a lot. Kirby, you've been in business for more than 14 years. Clearly, you're doing a thing or two properly, I suspect. Um, you get good results for your clients. I love the guarantee, by the way. We do the same. I think it's a very, very strong one.
Mhm.
Because it's also a show of, hey, I believe so much in the service and the product that I'm offering you right now that I'm willing to, put my money where my mouth is. But
Mhm.
you're still gonna need to do the efforts and the actions that it actually requires to get the results. So I like this a lot. Where a bit of a curveball for you. Where would you say you're stuck right now in the business? The reason I'm asking this is we will have B2B high level coaches listening to us right now who might feel stuck, challenged at the same point. And it's always interesting to hear from your peers how they think about solving the problem that they're in front of. So for you, what would that be?
Great question. I actually am from the Chicago area, Chicago, Illinois, USA. And I moved to Texas for about 20 years for corporate opportunities and all of that. I stayed there 20 years because I wanted to make sure my kids were launched. I didn't want to keep moving them around because that can be very trying. In fact, it was for my kids. So I stayed put for 20 years. As soon as the roost was empty, I came back to Chicago where my family is, and so I have just recently put a reset on there. My issue before I moved was capacity. It is that I am very generous because I want to be with my clients to make sure that I am there for them. That includes evenings, that includes weekends, that includes extra time with their team or them. That means coffee when I'm in market, and it means doing projects for them. And so what that's done is really suppress my capacity to have as many clients concurrent with the income that I previously enjoyed. But I have traded income for joy, for purpose, for meaning in my life. As I said, I think at the outset, lifting others and pushing them to the outside limits of their talents is one of my greatest joys in life, whether it's with my kids, my significant others, my friends, and certainly my clients. And so scaling is very difficult. And so I'm in the point now that I've moved and I've retained clients, of course, but in the process of coaching, we need to always do a refresh. And I have got to find a strategy, and I've been noodling around with one, in which I'm happy to share with you, with respect to how I can touch, lift, improve, and excite more people. So it is really around smaller cohorts. And by that, I mean 3 at a time, not 5, not 10, but 3 at a time in non-competitive industries, and getting them in a room or on a Zoom and working with them. They need to be at a similar stage. And again, I'm working this through and I'm kind of doing it right in front of you. But I really think this troika idea, 3 people in like stages in their scale and in their growth would be very, very valuable. So I've been noodling around with that, and to be able to do that at a price point for them that makes sense.
Words to live by. Kirby Kaden, ladies and gentlemen. Kirby, if people want to find out more about you, see what you do, where should they go?
Yeah, my email is, thank you, by the way. My email is Kirby@Kaden.Solutions, no .com after that. That's the best way to get me. You can go to my website, KadenSolutions.com, and there's a form in there, and I will respond to you very, very quickly, and we'll set up a time to first say hello and then have a complimentary consultation.
Well, we'll put all the links in the description, and I can say one thing for sure, Kirby, is that you've gained at least 1 connection on LinkedIn out of this interview. Me, I just added you. Kirby, thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders.
Thank you so much for having me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. You've done a wonderful job, and it's a privilege to be on your show. So thank you.
Thank you so much, man. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Leaders Podcast. We hope you learned valuable lessons on how to grow your practice and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.